Sorry, I had to get my okay.
Moving on to a few more of the sort of transitional mixed weapon self-defense stuff you see. First and foremost, Lena grabs a spear. She comes at me with the spear. He shows something that's very interesting and worth noting. He shows a play where the spear is on the scholar, and they're in armor, varying degrees of armor, and he shows you 2 fifth master plays to do against the spear. To come across and over and come down and disengage it as such, or to come from the side and disengage it as such. And the concept is you theoretically actually break the head of the spear off if you're put in this scenario. So worth noting, because it's plays, again, it's that repetition of learning techniques and things, different ways to employ them. He also shows a play where the scholar is armed with a more, in this scenario, more of a walking stick or a staff. Maybe a bow staff, something like that, just a stick. And you could use anything to do this, but the idea is you've got your staff grounded out, dealing with this threat. I want to come across and break it like such. She comes in, boom, I'm going to step in and go with my dagger. And the principle that's interesting to note here is the idea that with a spear, once you're inside that range, the spear's really useless. It doesn't serve much of a function at that point. Likewise, he shows another play where the scholar is quite literally, he has 2 sticks. And they're drawn as such. They're literally branches that he ripped off the tree or picked up off the ground. But what's interesting to note, in my opinion, on this idea is the fact that he's in guards. And he employs this weapon, these clubs, the same way you could employ a sword. And I would suggest that you could do these plays with the scabbard of a sword, potentially, all those types of things that are available to you. But first, he suggests that as the attacker comes towards me, maybe to break their concentration, I'm going to throw my top club at them. I'm not going to do that to Leanna. But you throw your top club. Likewise, if I decided just to make the cover, I could cover and club her, which might be suggested, or as he shows specifically, I throw, she comes in with the attack. Again, I come in the inside, the range of that spear, and I'm going to fight my way through like that. So it's neat. He shows those sticks. I really like that part. And again, I think you can use a scabbard. Heck, you could use your scabbard. You could have your sword. Why not? Right? Parry with your scabbard, and then you can do that. So, armored sword. Next thing we see in the manuscript is a series of techniques dedicated to fighting in harness. Some of these techniques are techniques we've already seen, some of them are new. Very much, a lot of them are in regards to failure drill. To easily set this up, I can come into maybe true cross, or the easiest way is to be bashing cross. Leanna's going to throw a fendente, a cut of any sort, and I'm going to cover like such. First thing I can do is move her off the line, step through with my thrust. This is right out of the 6th master. If I'm very lucky, I kill her immediately. Best case scenario. But Liberi gives a number of failure drills. First thing that might be, her armor might be too strong in the front. If I can lift up her visor and go through that way. That's one technique Liberi shows. He also says maybe if her armor's strong on the front, I can push her elbow and we'll test it out in the back. Again, failure drill, and it's a way to start using techniques you already know, elbow push, and start probing for that weakness in the harness. Likewise, other plays he shows, if I sweep, maybe I miss, or her armor's too strong, but I can come through and do a longer throw, which we've already seen in the grappling. Depending on range, I can do this with my sword as well. Also, from a covering, maybe I decide I don't want to even worry about her armor. I just know it's too good. I can get her into my key. Another option available to me. So those are sort of scenarios to deal with the failure of that first play, which is your ultimate objective. Cover and thrust through. Other options available to me, if I can come in and make a cover, I can decide to come to the other side, and here's where he shows you more, in my opinion, a series of principles or concepts, where I can come through and hit with the quillions one way, hit with the pommel back. I can also hook using my pommel. Those work very well depending on how your range. They work very well if you end up very close and deep. You can bring that up, I think, where it's employed. If your range is good, you're going to come in with the point and force through that way. If you're too close, you're going to come in with the pommel and quillions. Make some space to follow on. Other options, if Leanna, we come to a crossing, Leanna decides to go into a half sword type orientation. He shows another variation on this key where I'm coming through like such. So you can equally get into that lower key regardless of if my opponent's in half sword. I can also do that key with my sword alone. From the crossing, he does show stepping in and using pommel as a hook, like such. I'll do that from the other side. I think this is the superior throw in terms of using the pommel with the cross in, up and under, and he shows a scenario like that. He also shows from a crossing, he explains that another way to grapple your opponent is to simply get the sword behind their neck into this orientation. That can be accomplished in any number of ways. If we're in, simply bring it over. I can, if I force Leanna's sword in towards her chest, I can come up and over. Right? So that can be done different ways. More of a concept, like the pummeling, things you can do and you can try when you're in harness. Is the way I look at these things. Also shows a neat technique where you step off the line. Leanna comes in with, from maybe the high serpent, coming in with an attack as such, and I step off the line, come in and thrust. Countering some of the armor. The basic cover in armor, we end up in this scenario, and he shows one counter, surprise, elbow push. He shows another counter, like in the swordmaster, where I'm going to break down her guard as such. He's simply just reaching through and going that way. Both have advantages. I think the elbow push is superior in the fact that you know this. You can just do it. It should be second nature. Those are the plays in armor. So very interesting to note that those key locks are there. You already know those. The elbow push, all that stuff, already there. Full axes.
Just to be again with the elbow push. It's the second in the armor section, directly against the elbow. It's not critical. You talk about the line. And he basically lays it out in one line.
Yeah, I can't think of the line per se, and I'm also...
He says it's the counter.
Okay.
But you basically...
Full axes, I forgot to get them ready.
I also have a question about the sword as well. This is just kind of a more theory question than you're thinking. It's in two parts. For Gioco Stretto and Gioco Largo, do you make a choice to go to Gioco Stretto in your opinion? Like, do I say, I'm going to go to Gioco Stretto?
I would like to say that it was a conscious choice, but in my experience of free play, it doesn't work that way.
Okay. Okay, so then the second part would be, then how would you find yourself there?
All a matter of distance in terms of how you judge your distance, which I think is key to the art, because what happens is the close plays are not necessarily the ideal. He starts with the long plays, which are probably better. Because of that distance, you have more time to make a mental reaction and deal, and make it strong, viable defense. If I'm too close to Leanna, and we're trying to, she can hit me with time in the hand easily, and it's very hard for me to make cover anyways. And this is maybe some of those scenarios where we end up in the close place.